Fight.
So 2021 was a very good year for JRPGs. There were a lot of good JRPGs released, so many that I could do a top 10, but there were 5 that really stood out for me. So I'm going to rank the top 5 JRPGs released this year. Now this is all my personal opinion, so if a game doesn't make the list, it's not because it's bad or anything, it's just because I think these games were the ones that were pretty good. So sorry Pokemon Half-Assed Diamond and Pearl. Number 5 is Braverly Default, which is on Nintendo Switch and Steam. The Braverly Default games are pretty much modern old school Final Fantasy games. You have your elemental crystals and a very awesome job system. What I like so much about this game is that it's a tried and true old school JRPG experience. I like the somewhat simple story and the turn-based combat. I think the game look and sounds great, and I love the characters. Playing around with the job system is very fun and addicting. The boss battles in the game are also very well done, and it's where most of the difficulty comes from. Aside from the boss battles and exploring dungeons, as you go through the main story, there are side quests that are just okay, they're just somewhat there, and there is also a pretty cool fun card minigame that I actually enjoyed. Overall, I think this is a very old school JRPG that I really enjoyed. Number 4, Neo The World Ends With You, which is on the Switch, PS4, and PC. It's a sequel to the DS game. The game follows Renju and his team to find a way out of the Reaper's game. Without spoiling anything, the story is very well done, with many twists and turns along the way. I like the new characters in the game along with a few returning characters. One of the best things I think this game does is that it's a sequel of a game that came out over 10 years ago, and yet it still retains everything that made the original good. The game is also oozing with style, which gives it a very cool identity. And the soundtrack is an absolute banger, but the best part of the game is definitely the combat, which is real time, and so much fun. Basically, you fight as a team, and each character can equip different pins which range from long range, short range, charge attacks, area attacks, etc. It's really fun experimenting with the different pins and leveling them up, and evolving some to become stronger. The game's difficulty and the amount of enemies you chain together also determines how many pins you get. As you explore the city, there's also side quests, restaurants to buff stats, and stores to buy armors and pins. All in all, this is a very meaty game. This game also has a post-game. If you've never played the series before, I do think this is a good start. Number 3 on the list is Nier Replicant, which is on Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox consoles. The Nier series is one of my favorite series in gaming. Nier Replicant is a prequel and semi-remake to the original Nier released on PS3 and 360. It's not a full-blown remake, but it's not a remaster. The game actually added quite a bit of new content. This version of Nier features the younger protagonist, better character models, slightly updated graphics that add more detail, a better combat system, a new playable ending, redid the whole dub which is fully voice acted with all the original voice actors, redid the whole soundtrack, added a new story scenario, and last but not least, added a few new scenes in playthrough B and C. So yeah, there is quite a bit of new stuff in this game. Now this game may not be as good as Nier Automata, but it's definitely worth playing, and I think the overall story and music is better than Automata's. I don't think this game should be missed. The new gameplay is still actually fun. I love the banter between the main party. The story is very emotional and dark. The music is beyond amazing. The best OST of the year in my opinion. The new content is very good for the world building and lore of the series, so definitely play this one if you haven't already. Number 2, Tales of Arise, which is on PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam, is the latest game in the long-running Tales of series, and one of the best games in the series, in my opinion. This game actually had a budget and felt more fleshed out than the others. The story is pretty good and starts off a little bit darker than most Tales of games. Without spoiling much, the story and characters are pretty good, as well as the gameplay. Like all Tales of games, the battle system is real-time action, which is pretty fun and fast. You get a party of 6 characters who all play differently, with their own styles ranging from like a sword user, mage, range, attacks, etc. The bosses in this game are also quite challenging. They're a little bit more difficult, but the challenge makes them pretty fun. Like most Tales of games, there's plenty of side quests, skits, and optional monsters that are very challenging. There's also crafting weapons and accessories, gathering materials, and this game has a lot of content. It's a very good length. I think it's about like 60-ish hours or so with the story and side quests. All in all, the game is very good and doesn't really require you to play the other games in the series. There is actually one big negative about this game in my opinion. I think it's the music. The music is pretty bland and forgettable, which is kind of a shame because otherwise I think this was one of the best JRPGs released this year. And my number 1 for the best JRPG of 2021 is Shin Megami Tensei 5. Shin Megami Tensei is basically Pokemon with demons, and Persona series is actually a spin-off of the main Shin Megami Tensei games, if you're in a Persona. Now, Shin Megami Tensei is actually more focused on gameplay than story, but the gameplay is pretty good and very fun, addicting, and engaging. Now, this new entry features a more open world, so instead of the countless dungeon crawling of the previous games, you actually have a huge open world that you can explore, do multiple side quests, find, treasure chests, and a bunch of other cool things. And the movement in the open world is actually pretty fun. You can Naruto run and jump pretty much anywhere. Now, while it does have normal dungeons, it's not as many as the older games. But overall, I really love the turn-based battle system of this game. It has a great soundtrack, a lovely art style, very good production values, and is overall, in my opinion, one of the best JRPGs this year. And I think the best part is the story. Now, the story isn't like as much as like Persona. Like the story is actually kind of far in between. Like you'll be playing quite a bit before you get to the story. But what I really do love is I love the darker atmosphere of the game. I love the whole demons versus angels type thing, and the story really kept me interested through the whole game. But yeah, that's my list for the top 5 best JRPGs of 2021. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know your favorite JRPG this year in the comments below. Thanks for watching.